You're listening to the Journey Podcast with Russell Hughes, the show where we share the real journeys of individuals who are crushing it in their industry.
Hello and welcome back to the Journey Podcast. Really excited to be here again today, guys. And today I've got a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, someone who I admire a lot and has also taught me a lot from watching him in his own journey. He is a businessman, I would say, entrepreneur on his way to great things. His name is Luke. Luke, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah?
Excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, you were one of the first listeners of the first ever one.
Yeah, said I'd do it eventually, so here I am.
Yeah,
a bit nervous, but...
Yeah, no, mate. No need to be nervous. It's going to be the most relaxed affair. We're just going to explore the wonderful journey that you've been on. And, I'm sure that we're going to get some amazing nuggets of gold from it. For those of you who are listening for the first time, the Journey Podcast is essentially an idea that I had to try and give insight and value to initially young people, to try kind of give them guidance. Luke is obviously now becoming a successful entrepreneur, I will say. In the beginning, you've been through a lot of trials and tribulations from becoming a plumber to where you are now. And, I think what I was hoping to try and achieve initially with this podcast was to give insight to young people, people who maybe want to become an electrician or plumber, or some of our guests who, we've had a varied range of guests now, and hopefully give them, some real value and insight into what the reality is of what they potentially want to become. So hopefully, in a couple of years' times, there'll be a catalogue of 100 to 200 podcasts with various different individuals, and you'll be able to go through them. We've had people from the military, nutrition coaches, property. You're our second plumber, so already, tradesman's going to be a big feature. And once we initially started it, as I said, we were aiming for that younger audience to try and give them a bit of insight, as I said. But what we're finding now is that our listeners are ranging anything from, the target audience of the teenagers all the way up to the 80-year-olds I've heard. So, thank you for listening and joining. And what, as I said in my last few podcasts, what I'm really finding is that the true heroes are the normal individuals like yourself, Luke, and not a lot of credit gets given to those people for taking the risks and, taking an opportunity that might be handed to them and going for it, like I know you have. And I hope that this podcast starts to transcend, like I know already has begun, to give people, the confidence and the courage to follow their dreams and to listen to the real heroes, the likes of you and the likes of the guests that you're following in, and the very many that are going to be coming on here. I'm sure we'll get some famous people on here and some really successful people in society's eyes. But for me, I think that, the average, what is perceived to be the average Joe, you, me, that's where the true stories and the true wisdom can be found, and give people the hope that they can do it as well.
Nice. That was a big intro.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that was a big up to me. I'm not sure I'm a hero or an entrepreneur yet, but I'm certainly striving to be.
That's the first step, isn't it? You just strive to become something or someone is the first step, and having the courage to do that.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. Certainly on the beginnings of that journey.
Yeah. So, Luke, give us a little bit of insight. What are you doing right now? How's what's going on in the world of Luke?
So I am running a property maintenance company called Curve Property Services, and we're doing predominantly plumbing and heating, electrics and drainage.
Cool.
A few other services as well. We're doing a bit of roofing and painting, but there are three main trades. So yeah, just working both on the tools and running it. Sort of part-time on the tools, mainly in the office.
Nice.
And it's, as you know, and we're going to go through probably, it's been a bit of a journey over the last sort of 5-6 years.
Yeah, you have had an epic journey, I must say, which is why you're, someone who I admire and as I said in the beginning of the podcast, someone who has shown a lot of strength and character to kind of go through what you've gone through, and hopefully we'll unpack it in,
very nice of you to
your
say.
Journey. No, my pleasure. So, Luke, the format that we generally try not to have too much structure, but one of the things we do is, this is about your journey, and I'm just merely here as a guide to sort of Sherpa you through the highs and the lows. And so would you prefer to kind of work backwards from where we are now in 2021, or would you like to go right to the beginning where it all started?
I think it's easier to start at the beginning.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that first guest to go backwards, even though it probably
no one done that yet.
Yeah, no one's done that yet, but it might be difficult to go backwards chronologically. But all right, great. So let's start. Where was Luke Ridsdale born?
Born in Kingston.
Oh, local lad.
Not that far from here.
Nice.
Grew up in Thames Ditton, and then moved to Wimbledon now, live in Morden around the corner. So.
We're not going that far.
No, okay, I've gone too far ahead. But I haven't.
Slow right down. So what? Kingston. So we born. Are you the oldest? Have you got siblings?
Yeah. So I was the oldest of 5. So
big family.
Yeah, big family. So I had 2 younger brothers and 2 twin sisters.
Oh, okay.
So,
they're both sets of twins.
No. My brothers aren't twins, but sisters are. So
okay.
So big family, very busy.
Very busy family. Yeah. What's it like growing up? Are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm the eldest. Yeah. So
the oldest. Okay. So
eldest,
first one out.
So a lot of responsibility. It's good fun. Got a really close knit family. So.
What's sort of the age differences like?
So I was born first, then my brother Callum, I think about a year and a half later.
Okay.
Sam 5 years after that.
Yeah.
And then my twin sisters were an accident 5 years after that.
Okay. So quite close, and then big gaps in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was quite shocked to find out that I was going to have twin sisters 10 years younger than me, but yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
With them. Yeah.
So, obviously, as you were growing up, were you a tight family knit unit?
Yeah.
But obviously, someone's having to go work very hard to feed all those mouths.
Yeah, definitely. My dad worked very hard to keep food on the table, and he was a businessman himself.
Yeah, I've met him. Very interesting character.
Yeah, he's done well, and it's just really really good times. Got lots of good memories of growing up in Thames Ditton. We lived a sort of normal middle class life.
Nice. So where was early years? Obviously, big family. Tight family unit. What was your first? Did you go to school, nursery? What was your the initial upbringing like? Did your mum homeschool you or
No, it was just local schools in Thames Ditton, really, state schools, infant school, junior school there. We all went to the same.
And did your brother follow you?
Yeah, exactly. So I was always at school with Callum, just went to school locally.
So what was that like, as in terms of older brother and younger brother going? Was it obviously he was one of your good mates initially, I guess? Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, we argued like brothers do, so I'm not sure you could call us mates at that stage, but obviously it was good to go to school with him. I got to know his friends a bit, and but then moved, and then I went to Reed School. I think one of your good friends went there as well. Yeah,
it's Carter Bowman, who's been on the podcast.
Yeah,
Small world.
Very lucky to go there. But yeah.
So hold on. How old are you when you're going to Reed?
I must have been about 13.
Okay, so we've just jumped from
to be fair,
so
my
the early years are not as
great,
exciting.
Yeah, I don't have a very good long-term memory, so
okay.
But we can try.
No. It's just kind of getting an insight into sort of. I've basically on the podcast, and anyone who's been listening been finding some interesting correlations between people's experiences at school, whether they liked it, enjoyed it, disliked it, etc. I feel like there's not always, but there seems to be a general correlation between how someone then sort of develops into the whether it's straight into working world or university. So it's just something I always kind of touch on.
I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy school. I enjoyed sort of lunchtime playing football and playing with your friends, but I wasn't very academic.
So the early years, it kind of just
bit of a blur. I mean, I just sort of remember running around the playground, not really enjoying too much of classes. I think. And
what do you think that was? What do you think the reason for that was, in terms of like not enjoying it, didn't have any good teachers, or more just actually into sport? I was into sport. Were your parents would they be pushing you for the academia?
Not particularly, because my dad is not incredibly academic. So as long as we tried really hard and he saw that, he was happy. If the results weren't there at the end, it wasn't the end of the world. Which is, that's a really good thing to be brought up like that, I think. And it's just as well, because my results were never that good. I think as obviously my brothers and then my sisters, as the siblings went down the line, they became more academic slightly. But yeah, I think that's definitely why I went into trades and something more manual, because my attention spanning lessons wasn't that good.
Okay, so quickly, so fair enough. But then you go to Rids. Rids is a private school, isn't it?
Private school.
Where is it again?
That is in Oxshott.
Oxshott, okay.
And that was, I had a really good sport though. My dad actually went there, so there's a sort of reason I went there.
You're 13 going to Rids. What was that?
I didn't want to go. All my friends were going to Hinchley Wood, sort of around the corner.
Is that another private school?
That's a state school.
Oh, okay.
So you wanted to? I was pretty upset. Yeah, I was upset. It was an all boys school. I was like, that's.
So whose decision was it to take you to Rids?
Well, I think at the time my gran offered to pay for me to go.
Okay.
So the decision was made for me really by my parents.
Okay. Basically.
I remember. I'm sure.
I
remember there being tears.
So you're going.
I wasn't happy about it at all. Obviously, all my friends were going to local schools, and this one was a bit further away, which I'd never heard of before. So, but yeah, it was good. I guess it was interesting.
Would you say, you touched earlier that you're sort of from a tight knit middle class background family. Rids is obviously a private school. Sure, there's loads of middle class people that go there, but obviously it's if we talk about, it takes a lot of money to be able to fund someone through an entire schooling in private school. So how did you feel about it? Did you notice the shift in terms of, going from state schools to going to a private school?
Do you know what? I don't remember. It might have been. I'm not sure. I was old enough to really care about that sort of thing. And like any school, it's just full of kids being mischief and having a good time or not. And it probably, I don't know. I mean, I did visit some of the schools my friends were going to, and it looked a lot more fun. I think maybe I thought that the private school would be stricter. I think there's less people there, so you're definitely kept an eye on more. Which probably helped me, and I definitely got more help in class.
Yeah, because it'd be definitely interesting, because obviously a lot of people who strive to make their lives better, might argue that they probably want to send their kid to private school because they didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether there is actually, there clearly is a big difference in results.
My results weren't great, but they probably would have been a lot worse maybe if I didn't go to the private school. I think.
So do you feel like they were nurturing your education a bit more?
Probably I would have got more lost in a bigger state school, and because it's a private school, I think you're paying for it, so. They have to be
expected to be delivering results. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's a huge jump anyway from like a junior school to the next stage up. So yeah, I think if I'd started in a state school at 13 and then gone to a private school later, then maybe I would have noticed more of a difference.
Yeah,
I think that's a big jump anyway. and I guess you get used to it very quickly.
Yeah. So going through school, everything, are you enjoying it? Like,
I enjoyed the sport, enjoyed playing rugby.
Yeah, it's a very
it's got very sporty school.
Rugby, football.
Didn't do football. Didn't have a football team. I think we tried a few times to get them, but they wouldn't do it. It was cricket, football, hockey. So I was good at hockey, good at rugby. Cricket, couldn't stand.
Yeah,
it's too boring. And yeah, it was obviously had great facilities. You know, AstroTurf pitches. We could play football at lunchtime, and you know, there was woods you could run about. You know, in between lessons, you could get lost there.
Man has your own woods there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was, it was easy to go off and have a fag in the woods.
Yeah. Okay. So do you remember having any specific teachers that kind of?
There was, unfortunately, my dad had a bit of a bad reputation there, and there was actually some really old teachers that taught my dad.
Oh, really?
And there was a few times, I remember once just being dragged off by my collar of my blazer saying, "Oh, you're just like your father."
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think my dad set a bit of a reputation there.
What was the reputation?
Just been, a bit boisterous and mischievous, really, and getting into trouble.
Okay. And were you like that? Or do you think...
Yeah, I was. I mean, I wasn't particularly, how would I describe it? I mean, I would bunk off, I would have a laugh. I wasn't the easiest kid, but I certainly wasn't the most disruptive kid in the class.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was somewhere there.
Okay, cool. And so no real recollection of any teachers who
I remember a geography teacher that taught me really well, and I was really good at it. I became really good at it because of the teaching. And I sort of realised then that subjects I was good at was because the teacher was really good.
Well, that's the reason why I'm sort of, I guess, prodding you a little bit on this point, because I just finding it as well, having done a few podcasts now, that there seems to be a correlation between people who enjoyed a specific subject or thrived in a specific area, generally down to having a connection with a teacher. So I find it so interesting that even for myself, you think that you might be interested in becoming a pilot or a plumber or whatever else, but actually it's that connection that you build with a specific person that puts that energy and effort into you that probably sparks that initial creation of how you wanting to do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. I think that, I found it hard to learn. I would just switch off very easily, get bored if the teacher wasn't very good, really, or he wasn't good. I mean, I guess some people learn in different ways, so it was fine for most people.
Yeah.
But, PE, obviously, I was good at. And then sciences, everything else was bad at, unless I had a good teacher. So I failed. I only got 4 GCSEs.
Yeah.
Which was... not good
at Rids.
Yeah,
and stick it on Rids. What's going on, Rids?
Yeah, well, there's always people that fail at every school.
But they're being paid a hefty penny. Your grandma paid a hefty penny to get you through, mate.
Yeah, true. But that's what happened anyway. So then, I mean, even at that stage at school, I actually knew I was going to go into the building trade.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So about this is a bit of a guess, but 13, 14, where I remember having some builders around our house, and I got on with them really well, and I loved what they were doing. And in my head, that was it. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay. So that's so interesting. What I'm trying to ask about schools, you actually got that connection.
My dad never said, "Oh, what do you want to do that for?" I'm sending you to school or anything like that. But funnily enough, a teacher did say that to me. I think we were asked what we wanted to do when we were older. Do we have any ideas? And I was like, "Yeah, builder." He just shouted at me, like, "What are you doing here then?" Something like that. I was shocked by it because he was just shocked that he was like, "Can't be a builder, you're going to this private school, or whatever." But that's what interested me, and I thought that was a good career path. And my dad supported that. He's good.
That's really good. Something interesting you just said. I guess quickly just touching on it. You said that the teacher said, "Oh, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Was there any expectations as you were growing? Because what age did you leave Rids?
I left after GCSEs.
Because obviously you obviously have a peer group that are growing up and probably have similar. Well, some of them probably have more expectations on them to deliver on results and etc. It sounds like your family, like you said earlier, were more interested in that you put in the effort, and that's all that mattered. Which is, as you said, I think an amazing way to bring up children, you know, without putting that extra pressure to deliver on results or whatever. Did you feel that your peers and the other students had this external pressure to perform, or was there expectations as well because you went to Reeds that the next steps had to be this, that, or the other?
Not really. I never felt that, and I never felt that my friends had that. I think there were definitely some kids you could tell that, but I think that's in any school. I think, I mean, I don't think there's too much of a difference. I think, you know, people will send their kids to private schools because they can afford it and they think they'll get a better education. But I don't know on the whole if they're then expected to go and do better things. In my head, that's how I feel, but maybe I'm wrong.
No.
You know, in any school, you've got the kids that are really clever and bright and at the top of the class, and everyone thinks they're going to go on and do amazing things. This is not necessarily true, is it? And yeah, I never felt that pressure so much. I mean, every year I did feel pressure to make sure I at least pass some of my exams.
Yeah.
So I was always scared at the end of the year, you know, trying to revise. And I had my friends, you know, like my friend Ben.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I'm sure he would just, you know, not even need to revise, and he would just get A's, you know.
Yeah.
It always used to really annoy me. And then I get to the end of the year and I'd be like, I don't even remember what we learned at the start of the year. What the hell?
Yeah.
And I'd have to I'd almost like self-teach myself it all again. That's how I felt.
Okay.
So I didn't hold in anything very well, unless I was taught in different ways. Another funny story. For my geography dissertation, we did something annoying like, is Dorking a market town? Anyway, we were supposed to take loads of information from Dorking, but I just sat in KFC with a few friends, and then the dissertation was due, and I hadn't written any of it. My dad went ballistic, obviously, so I think we spent 24 hours, like overnight, getting it done. Basically, my dad wrote the dissertation for me. Yeah, obviously went mental, went bollock, you know, absolutely mental. So then we sat there writing it, or he did it, and I still got a D.
Did you?
After my dad had done it, I was like, cheers, Dad. So yeah, that was pretty funny, but it just shows you, he wasn't that good at the academic stuff as well.
Or they were just being like, there's no way he's done this himself. He's averaging a CD. Let's just give him one.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess that was an example of me not trying. Yeah, and that's what would really, you know, upset my dad.
But that's quite interesting that you say that. So that must obviously be linked to the fact that you weren't that interested in it, because obviously I know you outside of the podcast and even outside of a business sense, and you are quite driven. You know, we can talk on it more, but you congratulations, you just run the London Marathon as well.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well, you got quite. I mean, my jaw dropped when you told me the time.
3 hours 41. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, average Joe getting 3 hours 41. That's a really, really good time.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with that time. Obviously, it was supposed to be done 2019, so I was sort of on and off training for a long time.
Okay.
Which is good, kept me fit.
And raised some money for charity?
Yeah, so my sisters did it as well. So between the three of us, we raised 6,700.
Cool.
And
that's a nice amount, mate.
Probably go up a bit after this.
Yeah, after this podcast. Yeah, definitely. So, finishing Reeds, you left at, you said 18, 19?
When's it after
no,
GCSEs?
17,
like
yeah.
16,
17, yeah, sorry.
So I went to Esher College.
Okay, yeah, I know a few people who went there.
Yeah.
It's nice. That's a nice college as well, in a very nice area.
States College. Or whatever,
State College, yeah.
So that was, good mix of people. Obviously,
what did you do there?
I had to resit. What did I do? I resat my science because I only got 4 GCSEs.
Oh yeah.
I had to have 5 to get in, so I had to do like a year before, basically. And I did something called a GNVQ, which is apparently equivalent to 4 GCSEs in IT.
Yeah.
Which was I'm not sure if anyone actually acknowledges that, but basically spent most of the time playing Doom on the laptops there. But yeah, I got through that year, and then I think I started my AS levels, and I'd had enough of. I kind of went to college because that was the thing you're supposed to do next, and really what I should have done is left after GCSEs. I should have gone straight to work, and even before then, I had like quite a strong work ethic. At 12, I was mowing people's lawns, I was washing people's cars, and I couldn't even reach the top of it. I remember doing it for £2. Go down my road and make some more money, make some little bit of change. Borrow my dad's lawnmower. So I was always, happy to graft for money. Enjoyed doing that, and so I left. I left East College, and I just joined a local gardener.
Okay.
Did that for a bit, and then I started working for a building company, labouring, which I really enjoyed. I think they pay 50 quid a day on a Friday.
I was only getting 30.
Yeah, on a Friday I was getting
Jesus. In Esher as well, mate.
Yeah, we kind of worked around Sunbury.
You'd think I'd be getting. I should have been on like 100 quid surely for being in that area.
Well, I don't think it's any different, but yeah, I was I was the richest out of my mates, because on a Friday I'd have 250 quid in cash, and obviously they were still at college, so beers were on me then.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that. I did a bit of roofing, did a bit of plastering, did a bit of everything, and then I sort of thought, I need to get a trade, and that's when I went into plumbing, and that's probably the first time I sat in a class and was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, because I really wanted to learn it.
Yeah. But the learning style in trade school is completely different to, well, firstly, you want to do it, and so you've made a big commitment.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also focused on the trade itself. And for me, I found that having that variety of having to go get experience as well as then applying it in class I thought was amazing at the time.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. It's just, I know, after I left college, you realise how much actually the college doesn't teach you, and you learn a lot more on site, don't you? But I managed to find a job with a company on commercial sites.
Straight away? So you've done, how long did you do labouring for before you decided to?
I think I did gardening for about, not a whole year, maybe 3/4 of a year, and then I did labouring a year or two.
Okay.
And then, I found a plumbing company. I literally called every plumbing company in Southwest London, basically. But actually, it was a friend of a friend who we'd worked for, an electrician's dad or something. He had quite a big company doing commercial plumbing and heating. So I think I spent 2 years there, working there, and I really enjoyed that. But I did quickly realise that wasn't for me either, because it's a lot reading drawings, pipe fitting. You don't actually learn kind of the technical side of plumbing.
Okay. What? Because you're doing it at such big scale, it's just repetitive and
exactly, yeah. And you do learn the first fix, second fix, and you're running pipe work, quite large, some of it. But then the plant rooms were sort of done by other companies. And
so the technical side of things,
yeah. So I decided that I wanted to go kind of more into domestic and learn how plumbing systems worked and get my gas. And I found Synergy Heat Source, who were at the time in Earlsfield, and I think I stayed there for about 5 years.
Okay.
I really enjoyed working there, and I did a bit of renewables there as well. So that was good.
Air source,
so got my gas
plants
there, and then did.
So you're gas engineered and plumber, well, both.
Yeah, I got my plumbing at Nescott, and then I did my gas in Earlsfield. With Synergy.
And what was the climbing money? Was it
working on commercial sites, I was actually on about 140 a day.
So what age is this?
Must have been 22, 23.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't even making that. Jesus.
No, yeah, I went up pretty quick there. But that didn't last long, because then when I went to another company, Synergy, then obviously I had to drop my wage because I was kind of learning again.
Mm-hmm. And did you mind that?
No, I was happy to do it. Obviously, it was a bit hard. I'd moved out of home by then.
Yeah.
So I'd rent to pay and stuff. Moved into a house with 6 other friends in Wimbledon, which was good fun. But yeah, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Important.
Okay. And how's family life at this point? Are you still connected to the unit and?
Well, yeah. When I was about 19, lost my brother Callum.
Okay.
So
sorry to hear
this
that.
is like 3 years after. So I think we jumped 3 years. We're going back about 3 years back now.
Okay.
That was hard, but.
Well, this is the closest brother, one year behind you.
1 year behind me, yeah.
Okay.
So he had an accident, and I guess that was hard, but brought the family closer together, I think.
Okay. And how did you handle that at the time? Like,
I don't know really. My parents were actually on holiday, and I got the call at the hospital, and I think I spent 2 days with him in the hospital. And he was just a bit out of it. He was talking to me.
Oh, really?
He was out of it, so I didn't really expect him to die.
Okay.
And then my parents, obviously I called my parents and said, "Look, you got to come back."
Oh, what? Because they were
They're
still
on
on.
holiday, yeah.
Yeah.
I think obviously the first night I was there, I called them.
And were your
he-
sisters obviously born at this point as well? Were they
Yeah,
on
they were 10 years younger than me, so yeah, they were about
10?
9, 10.
9,
yeah.
10. Okay.
So they were on holiday. They came back, and then the day after they came back, I obviously went home. And then obviously got a call from my dad saying he passed away, which was a huge shock.
Yeah, I bet. Jesus.
How did I deal with that? I don't know really. I think I went to a friend's house, and I just stayed there for about a month.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a hard time. Kind of my memory's very
Yeah, hazy.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you this is what I said earlier, because you've told me about this before. We haven't told me in detail, but like how you then quickly sort of you just didn't even touch. You just told us. Then you went to Nescott. You moved out. You've got a job, so you were able to get back on your feet in terms of your resilience and continue to.
I guess
which is what you have to do. But I'm just saying, at a very young age, it's kind of you didn't really go off the rails or anything. You seemed to maintain your focus in what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go off the rails. I mean, obviously, I still did. I'm sure I did some stupid crap that I won't go into now, but nothing too unusual. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of just I don't know how I dealt with it really. I just kind of got on with it and tried to forget about it. I think that was my only way of dealing with it. I think.
Do you feel sorry to pry? Do you feel like you've kind of had time to revisit that, or?
I think it kind of came to a head about 10 years later.
Okay.
Not 10 years later. It was 27 years later. Yeah, about 13, 14 years later, it definitely came out again. Probably hadn't dealt with it properly.
Okay.
But yeah, I think at the time I just had to get on with it. Obviously, it was tough.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, mate, but obviously...
Yeah, it's harder for my parents, obviously.
Yeah, how? Well, obviously, I've met them both, but they're very strong characters.
Yeah, very strong. Credit to them to keeping the family together and carrying on. I think it took them a long time, really, to go out and do things again with their friends, years, And I don't really remember sort of much, like looking after Sam and my sisters. I feel like I was kind of, because I was 19, I was a lot, started going out a lot, clubbing, seeing my friends. So don't remember being around too much around that time, really.
Okay. But
yeah, still was focused on, because at the time I was working for the builders, so I think I had a month off and then I went back to work.
Do you like a lot of people kind of, when they experience this sort of trauma, can go, I don't want to say one of two ways, but like they either kind of, their brain or mind has, and I've experienced something at a very young age, but the ability to almost protect you and allow you to continue, where some people obviously can't.
Yeah,
will kind of go the other way. Having had that happened and being able to kind of refocus. Was your thinking process? Was it kind of like, oh, you need to do this for your brother, or like kind of just process? Kind of like
at the time, I don't think I felt that. I remember, I think just trying to block it out, and it's too painful, really.
Yeah,
too painful. I think in certain ways it's made me stronger. In other ways, it's made me weaker. I'm petrified of losing family members now and friends.
Okay.
I have probably an irrational fear of that.
Oh, really?
Which definitely causes anxiety. That's a negative side of it. But yeah, I guess obviously having gone through that, it definitely makes you stronger in some ways.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the problem is, I guess I don't talk about things as I should.
Yeah.
My wife finds that difficult.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at that though.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. Look, you're talking about it on a podcast.
There you go.
So, okay. So, obviously, went through that experience, but found the strength to carry on, and now you're at Synergy in Elsfield.
Yeah.
And what's going on? You become top boy plumber?
No, there was already a top boy plumber there. My mate Greg, I think you've met as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and he's my age, so we became good friends. And he was already gas, so he kind of taught me that side of everything, and he was really good at it as well.
What's your view on terms of like, coming up in the trade? What if there's like advice or some wisdom you'd impart at this moment, which we normally do at the end, but like to a young listener trying to sort of, bearing in mind things have changed a lot since we were younger. What sort, you're always looking for plumbers and apprentice people to join your apprenticeship. I know you're looking for more skilled people, but what's your advice? What do you look for in a young person potentially joining the company?
Just to start with, someone that will turn up on time.
Yeah, turn up on time.
Be eager to help and really be focused on it. I've had apprentices work for me for other companies, and I've had some that just couldn't be bothered to turn up on time or sleep in, and then you have ones that are really like focused on, what are you doing there? What are you doing?
Okay, focused. So turn up on time, focused.
I kind of get the feeling with some of them that they really want to do this, and others have kind of just gone into it because, if it's not for you, very quickly.
Do you think there's a difference between the ones who, like you, who've made the decision and are on it, and the others who are kind of like, I'm kind of just here because maybe there were no other options, or this was the best of the options that they had? Yeah. Do you notice the correlation between them becoming better plumbers?
Yeah, definitely. The guys that are more focused on it obviously do.
But do you get ones who initially might be like, I'm not really enjoying this, I don't really know why I'm here type thing, but then all of a sudden it kicks in?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely, sometimes at a young age, you're just not there yet. You're not really ready for working life, I guess.
Yeah.
And I have seen guys go on to become, really good plumbers who initially were, a bit useless or weren't all there and just couldn't be bothered. But yeah, my advice would be enthusiastic. Maybe try out with labouring for a bit, see if it's for you. Rather than jump into a course and have to work with someone and
it's interesting. Find out
you don't like it.
Yeah, because I've kind of from electrical pivoted into construction. So initially, I was always giving people jobs and opportunities just based on meeting them and their character. But I've recently realised it's so important just to, as you said, give them a bit of labouring and see if they even want, because half of them don't actually understand the reality of being on site.
Yeah.
They're just like, as with anything, which is why I think this podcast is hopefully going to be so great, is like, you think becoming a music, producer is just having parties in your studio with rappers and etc. But really, I've got a music producer coming in mind. He's going to give you the reality of the situation. Yeah. It's not what you think it is.
No, I'm sure it's hours and hours of
hours and hours and hours, nights, days, back to back, just to produce something that's going to be better than hundreds of other thousands of people doing the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth going to work with a plumber before you do a course or labouring. I certainly learned how to graft properly. Yeah, digging holes, hod carrying, carrying tiles. But you learn a lot very quickly.
And do you think that experience also builds character to be able to be, because you've got to be quite resilient in
there's always a little bit of bullying, and it's all good. I laugh in the end, but you've got to take a bit of pressure from the older guys, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so did I.
I went from college where I was not enjoying it to an environment where I really enjoyed working hard.
Do you think that you can still grow people without that sort of creating that? Well, I actually tried my best to make sure that the environment's not something that's encouraged in the company, but obviously I can't stop what happens on site in terms of the banter.
Yeah, I think before, at my age when I was labouring, 14 years ago, I think the banter was definitely a lot more hardcore than it is now. But then I would probably say 10 years before I started, it was even worse,
Yeah.
So I think there's got to be a bit of that, but you're right, it can't be too severe.
Yeah.
You do hear some horror stories, but there's never anything too bad for me. But just enjoyed being in that environment, learning different skills. I learned, by the time leaving that building company, I could have basic skills like, I could do a bit of plastering. Yeah. I'd done quite a bit of roofing, plasterboarding, loads of different stuff. And then at that point, I could choose kind of where I wanted to go with it.
Okay. Nice. So at Synergy, when did you become top boy? Because obviously
I never did there, and that's why I left. Because my friend Greg, who helped me get my gas, and I kind of followed in his footsteps and doing the boiler stuff. He was the top boy there, and the company was going in the right direction. And if I'd stayed there now, then I might have possibly been a manager there. I know that.
Are they still? They're obviously still about.
Yeah. Still a manager there. But I knew it would be a long time before it did. I felt ready. I think I was about 28.
So actually, I've never thought of this, but you were at that company when how many employees did they have at that point?
Oh, good question. They must have had about 5.
Yeah, so about roughly what when we had companies when we first met each other, roughly where we were about. So like now you see them, they're obviously a lot further in their journey. Can you see how long the time it's taken them, and how many employees do they have now? They must have quite a few now.
I don't know. Yeah, they obviously fluctuate like everyone, but I know they've had like over 10. And I mean, I've definitely learned, not to maybe look at the success of a company and how many employees they've got, because at one point, with Care Plumbing Heating, I had 10, but it was one of the hardest times to try and manage and actually make money out of that.
Yeah.
Been more successful with less guys. So I think they've got about 10 there or thereabouts, but they're doing another level of installations now. They've done really well, and I'm still in touch with the owner and obviously Mike Gregg. So I still get work off of them, stuff they don't want to do.
Nice.
They ping my way.
Okay.
So it's a good relationship. Obviously I left because I wanted to have my own company, start working for myself. I felt ready.
So how old were you when you left?
I think I was 28, and I just finished installing that year like a ground source heat pump.
So outside of that, where are you in life? What's going on?
Where am I in life?
28.
Oh, so I'd moved out of the house I shared in Wimbledon with friends, and I bought a place with another friend, Stuart, in Morden, the house I'm living in now.
Yep.
So
how old were you when you bought that?
25, 26.
Okay, that's really young.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. I did it with Stuart.
Yeah.
So both of us. But back then, this is like 7 years ago, the house prices were, a lot less.
Yeah, how much was the house then?
250.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's ridiculous now. But yeah, we kind of moved there because it was local to where we knew-ish, and it was good price for us, near a tube, so it's a good place to be. And I was still with my missus at the time, who I'd met at 19. Now my wife. So
now your wife.
Yeah.
And mother of 2
twins.
Yeah, twins.
One set of twins, not two.
Yeah, no, two boys. I've seen them, haven't I?
So 28. What was I? Yeah, I had a mortgage. I was still living with Stuart, and it was a big risk. When I left, I only had 2 weeks of work booked in. So I was going from a secure job to 2 weeks of work.
So what do you think do you think having the mortgage and the house give you the confidence to do the jump, or was it that gave you the confidence to make the jump, or was it frustration, or was it kind of what was it that eventually gave you the idea that I can do this on my own?
I think it was always in my head to do it, but I wanted to learn everything I needed to. I think that's another bit of advice I'd give is don't jump ship too early to do your own thing, because I've had guys that work for me that have done that, and there's so much to learn. I think you need to know. You need to be really confident in what you're doing, I think. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that advice is not for everyone. Some people will just go on their own, they'll pick it up as they go along, and they'll do just fine. So, but for me, it was important for me to really, when I did my gas, I felt uncomfortable. I'd go to people's houses, have to start doing boiler swaps. It was, made me nervous. And then you do it for a while, and it just becomes second nature. It's easy.
Yeah.
When I got to the point of doing the renewable stuff, and then I felt basically I could do anything anyone gave me. Yeah. So I wanted to challenge myself, I guess, and put myself in, an uncomfortable position. And it's something I had on my mind I wanted to do. It felt like the right time. So I had 2 weeks of work booked in. I think the couple of months, I told my boss, good 3-4 months in advance.
Yeah. How was he? How did he take it?
Well, actually, obviously it must have been hard because I was the guy that was doing the plant rooms basically.
Yeah.
Because Greg had kind of moved up to management, so he was off the tools. and I was the guy doing,
Yeah.
the more technical stuff. So it's probably hard for him. But he was very positive about it. Just said, this happens, we will find a replacement. And he also actually helped me a lot because there was a company he didn't want to do work with, but said, look, you can do it with me. I'll teach you how to price it. So actually, I've got a real leg up there on how to price jobs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's also someone I've been able to call for advice.
That's nice.
Yeah, which is great. So yeah, got a van, chose a name, got a logo made.
Yeah, what curve? Talk to people. What's the curve?
At the time,
it's good.
It was
a
heat curve. It came from a heat curve.
What's a heat curve?
There's a heat curve graph on a renewable. If you're doing air source heat pumps,
okay,
or anything really, there was a short name. Didn't want it to be my name.
Yeah,
and I thought that's an easy thing to maybe make it look good.
Yeah.
So the first company, was Curve Plumbing and Heating.
Nice.
And so 2 weeks work booked in, and basically was working, 12-hour days and then going home and working to midnight quoting. So it's just
talk a little bit about that for some of our listeners. A lot of our listeners probably think that starting your own business is, all the glory without the pain. What's the reality? As you just said, you're doing a 12-hour day and then coming home to do quotes and emailing.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, really tough. You end up getting behind on your invoicing, and you start learning about things like cash flow and all sorts of things you just didn't really think about. In my head, all I wanted to do, I was like, I'm going to do the best job. I'm going to be the best plumber, gas engineer in London. That's what in my head. That's what I wanted. Offer the best service. Always answer my phone. Not let people down. Which I did. But to do that, actually, you're having to visit people's houses at God knows what time after you finished a job, try and squeeze in little call outs in between doing a boiler install. It's a nightmare, really.
Yeah.
And then coming home, eating whilst quoting, learning how to invoice. Actually, one of the things I struggled with was just writing emails. I hadn't done any sort of writing really since school or college, and I realised how bad my spelling was. Thank God for spell checker, obviously, but.
So you can see why the colleges, when you're even doing an apprenticeship, they push for you to have your basic English.
Yeah,
maths,
exactly. Yeah,
and science.
But I'm sort of one of those people that if I'm not doing it,
it
kind of goes out of my head. So
young people, make sure you get those basic qualifications, man. You need them.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I very quickly realised that I'm not a bookkeeper and I can't do anything with numbers. So I got a bookkeeper straight away, which was my mother-in-law.
Mate, that must have been helpful because I didn't get a bookkeeper till very, very, very late on.
Yeah, I just knew. I straight away I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, and it was better to, I think she probably did it for free for a bit, and then someone else took it over, a friend of hers who I paid. But yeah, I just think that's really important. I mean, some people can do it as well, but I don't know how you do quoting, working on the tools, and bookkeeping. But
it's a bit like on. We've recently had some changes in the office, and I found that for the first time I'm actually doing some of the bookkeeping. And actually, I have to say, I have learned so much in the last month of actually how the business is operating and where the waste is, and things that I never really cared about, similar to you, like, I'm more focused on delivering a high quality service and being on the tools and doing all of that you just pay someone and you're trusting that they're doing,
which you can't do,
but they don't have the same passion or insight as you do in your own business. So someone who that I admire from the perspective of what he's achieved is Elon Musk. And I've read his book and listened to a couple of his interviews, and when someone's not delivering on what he's expecting, he'll just sack them and then take over their job. Sometimes he'll be like, lead engineer on building a flipping rocket ship that's got to go out of Earth, and then he'll sack the lead design person and the lead marketing person and just do it himself. So something I've taken a tiny bit of inspiration from. Obviously, it's very difficult to if you're already doing 16-hour days. but definitely.
I think that's a good thing. I mean, certainly I learnt later on that I really should have learnt what was going on in the books, which I now have done. I've got a friend that's a accountant, luckily, so I've learned what a balance sheet is. I've learned what I should be looking at. I've still got a lot more to learn. I mean, that was later on because I did kind of ignore that side of things. But I think if you're just on the tools yourself, obviously it's a bit easier, it's a lot less to worry about. And I would advise getting a bookkeeper. It certainly helped me. Obviously, I was doing my invoicing and things like that. They were just
yeah.
So yeah, and then within 3 months, I employed my first plumber.
Within 3 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was Lukeland, who you know.
Yeah.
Became my right-hand man.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's helped me massively on the way.
Where was he at?
So I think he'd only been doing plumbing a very short amount of time. He'd actually been doing a lot of painting, decorating. He had worked for one other guy. So he kind of came to me very raw and green as well.
Which is probably why he's turned into being a really great plumber.
Well, yes. I mean, I've been able to teach him, the stuff I've learned and know. And also he's just, applied that and learnt for himself as well. And been, he's wanted to learn and he's wanted to be good. So that's what he's become. And actually, I employed him and a week later I was going on a ski holiday. And I was petrified because I was like, is this guy going to be any good? How am I going to leave him with this job?
Yeah.
I nearly didn't go on the holiday, but I'd been working like non-stop for 3 months, weekends, nights, needed the break. And it actually turned out all right. Yeah. Got back and stuff was done. So it was worth it. Yeah, it was good.
So how long before you went and got your second, third and fourth?
I think I had 3 guys within 6 months.
Mate, flying.
Yeah. So I picked up a lot of work very quickly, just through contacts, I guess, of builders I knew.
It's a lot easier back then to find people than it is now, isn't it?
Definitely.
People to work. You found three good plumbers in 3-4 months. Which is before we started the podcast, we were just talking about the difference between us being on the tools and not being on the tools. Do you not? Now you're kind of talking about that period. Do you not feel like because you were on the tools, it was easier to find the right people? Or do you just think...
Well, no. The thing is, I didn't need a skilled people, I guess, because I was there with them on site.
Well, that's what I mean. So you were able to get people who could then nurture and mould. Because otherwise, when you're hiring plumbers or electricians or builders, whatever, they've got their own style and their own way of doing things, and it takes a lot of the stress that we probably deal with is like, that's not my standard, you're well below short, or that's not how I do things, or that's not how you deliver the service that I expect. So you almost feel like you're paying the top dollar, but you're going backwards. Well,
obviously I had Lukeland, who very quickly kind of just picked up everything, how I did things, and then kind of did things in his own way as well. But he knew the sort of standard I'd want, and if I wasn't there and he was there, he would make sure that was implemented. And I was very careful to say, everything we do has to be straight and neat. I'd make sure they knew size of pipe work, where it's got to go.
Yeah.
And if I turned up and it looked a bit pissed, wobbly or wrong, we'd redo it all, even if it cost to me, because I was more interested in making sure that it was a good job than anything.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, leaving guys on site, but I was visiting the site every day, going off and doing the call outs. So still working late nights to try and do
the grind never stops.
Exactly. And at that point, I was doing sort of full house refurbs, basements. So there's quite a lot. He was quite involved in quoting.
Interesting thing as well. Like, do you not feel like, so now you've got 3-4 guys, you've got a couple vans, getting a lot of work in. Friends and families and people's outside perception is like you've made it, but they still have no clue or idea like how much.
I guess, people...
And more for people starting their own businesses, because, just because you have more people and all of that stuff you still got to grind.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's true. People do see that, or certainly people that work for you might think, oh, you must be raking it in or whatever, but actually there's something to be said for just you on your own, or you and one other guy, because if you're in control of everything, then your profit margins will most likely be a lot more than sometimes when I've had when I had 10 guys, I was probably the least most profitable I'd been, just because trying to, had van insurance, business insurance, everything was skyrocketed, and then trying to keep an eye on all of that. And most of the guys I had were really good and I could trust them, but there was definitely a couple of bad apples in there that I couldn't. But we were so busy at the time, I couldn't get rid of them, and I couldn't find anyone else, and I had to leave people on sites for days and not check on it, and it's when you start losing out very quickly. So in a way, I think I grew maybe too quickly, and I should have probably just turned away some work, stayed on the tools for a bit longer, and brought things in place, like how I have Josie in the office now, to manage parts of my job that I couldn't do. If you've got 10 guys and trying to answer all those emails, take all the calls, manage all of them, order all the materials, it's I should have had someone in the office then. But at that point I was running, I was just firefighting, I didn't have time to find someone to put in the office. So if I could talk to my younger self about it, I'd be like, slow it down, should have not taken all the work, got someone in the office, even part-time to start with. I think the problem is you have a fear of, you're going to have to start paying someone that's not actually on the tools earning money.
If you pay them, they will probably organise your business and make you more profitable.
Absolutely, yeah.
I did that though, but I hired very young, inexperienced people, and even got three of them. And actually, the reality was that, that also didn't work as well as if I just found someone with a lot more experience in the initial stages, because they were making mistakes, and I didn't. Again, same thing as leaving someone on site, leaving someone in an office and expecting them to do things. So for a very long period of time, you're hiring all these people, yet you're still coming back every evening at 6-7 o'clock and then doing the work that they did incorrectly again. And I guess you get caught in this trap where you haven't got enough time to tell them off or bollock them or all of these things. So you just in that cycle, that trap, almost like the rat race, but in your own little bubble. Yeah,
it can go very quickly. It can get like that. I think also I wanted to take on all the work that I was getting. I was like, this is brilliant, But I didn't have, I didn't have any business training. All I knew really was plumbing. Knew how to quote, knew how to invoice. But even then, the invoices, I was doing the invoices later and later, and then you're getting paid later and later, and that can really affect things. I'd always catch it up.
Yeah. It's basically when the fires, you're just putting out the biggest fires, aren't you?
Yeah. And I definitely learned a big lesson from that. Growing very quickly can be worse for you than doing it slowly. Definitely need to have things in place.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with growing quickly, but I think you obviously need to find moments to consolidate on that step that you've.
Yeah. I was always working on the business. Well, within the business, making it run rather than stepping back and going right.
Yeah, working on
what
it.
do I need now to get to the next step? Which now
What about your dad? Your dad obviously has a lot of experience running his own business and stuff. Like in the early days, was he giving you advice and or you being open about it all? Or
yeah, he'd give me advice. I might chat to him about this and that, but really he doesn't really understand my business, I guess.
Yeah,
he didn't do anything like this, but he's always been there for advice. But really, a lot of this stuff you just got to learn on your own.
Yeah,
make the mistakes. I certainly made some big ones. So yeah, that company kind of grew. Had 10 guys. I think that's when I met you, really.
Yeah. We met at the pinnacle of when we were both had so many. I just got to 15, and you definitely had 10, and it was just like.
Yeah, and I didn't really know what I was doing as much as I do now, but. That was tough, but yeah, like I said, it was a good lesson. And obviously since then, the other thing I learned was, make sure you vet the builders you're working for or the people you're working for. Because I took work from some people that in the end didn't pay me. And I learned a huge lesson from that. But again,
it's funny,
I trusted people.
We were learning those lessons at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it was good to meet you then because we kind of had the same problems, and it was good to be able to bounce off each other and sort of vent, I guess.
Yeah,
It's kind of,
because no one, it did feel like no one understood, not at home or your friends. Just, I didn't even used to talk to my friends about some of the shit that used to happen at work, just because it was just like.
No, I mean, my dad really started to come in and help after my second brother died. So this is the middle brother. Unfortunately, killed himself in 2019. So
wow, sorry to hear that.
That's right. But then, after that had happened.
So how old are you in 2019? This is 3 years ago.
Yeah, this is 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
So 2.5 years. Yeah. Sorry, 2.5 years ago. Oh my god! And then where were you? Had you started your family? Yeah.
Yeah, my twin boys were they're about 6 months old.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Sam, he struggled he had mental health issues and took his own life. So he struggled for a good 7 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old was he when he? 26,
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was obviously a huge shock. But yeah, and then about 2 weeks after that had happened, I realised one of the companies that I was working for was playing games and they owed me a lot of money. And that's when my dad sort of really came in and started to, he wanted to help me because I was obviously in a dark place, after losing my second brother and this happening, I guess. At that point, I hadn't realised how bad it was and I thought I'd probably get paid.
Did you know this person who owed you money?
Yeah.
Like, did you know that this had just happened, that you just lost your brother?
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah. I mean, this is the problem, right? So, you've got, too many guys that you can't manage properly because you're just one of you, or you don't have systems in place to manage them properly yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting paid weekly by people, so cash flow is kind of all right.
Money comes in,
but the debt's straight out. Yeah, the debt's staying the same. It's not really going down. And then after sort of chasing for a while, and then what it was is they'd stop asking me to come to site. Well, I said, obviously, I'm not coming back till we get paid. I said, yeah, sorry, we will. It just never happened. The payment never came. So obviously you get red flags, but now those red flags would come probably a month earlier.
Mm.
And I would never get myself in that situation where someone owed me that much money anyway. I would make sure that would be paid before we came back a lot earlier. Certainly learned that. That's when my dad really came in and helped, a lot of time just for moral support to help me get to work, make sure I'm there.
Yeah.
And it was tough to get up and actually go into work at that point.
I can't imagine.
So yeah, he really helped me through that. And just did.
And how's your family? Because that's your second death. Like you said the first time it brought you kind of close together.
Yeah, it's just like a shock. It's happened again. Surely this can't be true.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough couple of years. Definitely been in a much darker place the last couple of years. I guess with the stress of work, been a lot more now that I'm older and sort of what I'm doing.
And so your dad's kind of obviously kind of making sure you've built this business, kind of help making sure you just.
Yeah, I mean at the time I had all this work. I still had to. I think I had a week off, and I
can't imagine. You can't even go on holiday for a week. So Jesus.
Yeah,
this is why I said. You always say, "Oh, why do you?" Why are you saying all this stuff? I'm saying, well, mate, you need to give yourself, some credit and some, you lost your brother at 19, and then, managed to pull yourself together and essentially go and pick up a trade, find a business, start a business, and then you're rocking and rolling. You transform your business, from 1 plumber to 5 plumbers to 10 plumbers in a very short space of time, under 2 years. And then, just as you're kind of in cruise control, just about like trying to understand business, which is already very, very difficult, as we both know, and then,
also I feel like, it might have been a bit negative about it, but also we also did some great jobs. I was enjoying the whole process. I think to this point where I started being owed a lot of money, I really enjoyed what I was doing.
Yeah.
I might have been firefighting and all, trying to
It's
things,
enjoyable. Yeah.
we were doing really nice jobs. We were doing really good work. We had lots of happy customers, and I was really enjoying what I was doing, and I was proud of what I was doing. But definitely my focus was on doing really good work rather than
it's the same. It's the same.
Profit and loss and learning, understanding all of that side of it. Now I'm very, focused on both things, which is good. But that was the business side of things was definitely missing out of my priorities. I was more interested in making sure everyone's happy, which is I still am, obviously, but you can't just be interested in that. And so until at that point, the company was doing really well, obviously growing, it was making good profits, and thought I was going in the right direction. And I guess, it was a big shock to then realise that these guys aren't going to pay me.
And sorry, mate, and you just had lost your brother,
that was devastating. Obviously, he battled for a fair few years with his mental health.
Sorry, I don't mean to. With the mental health stuff, people don't talk about mental health enough, and especially as business owners, a lot of our own personal mental health is always on the up and down, because we basically have to self-motivate ourselves. We have to constantly keep up with all of the pressures and everything else. When you say your brother had mental health issues, is it something that started a long time ago, or? Yeah,
it started when he was about 17, so I was about 23, I think.
Yeah. And was it something did you used to talk to him about it? Did he used to talk about it?
Did as he got older, yeah. But he was quite, he had schizophrenia basically, which came apparent at about 17.
Okay. And
not sure why. I mean, there is theories that from trauma from a young age can cause it later in life.
Okay.
He was, I think, 14 when when Callum died. His older brother.
Okay.
So don't know if it's triggered from that or not. I think that's something.
How was he when your Callum passed?
I think he was 14, so I kind of not sure. I think I was away. I was with my mates. I was 19.
Yeah.
Again, very blurry.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, not sure I probably was there enough for him. But yeah, he 17 became quite ill. Mental health is minefield really.
It is, but I'm saying people we don't talk
seriously.
We don't talk about it enough. Me and you talk quite a lot, and one of the things we've bonded on initially, as you said, is just being like, fuck. Are you going through this? Yeah, I'm going through this. Mine's actually a little bit worse this week.
Yeah.
And just having that feeling, okay, I'm not on my own, can give you that, that hope that, oh, okay, I can maybe get through this.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important on the podcast and also for other people to know that it's really important to talk to family members and talk to colleagues, whoever, about things. I've been very lucky that I've always had a good friendship network, and I've always spoken to them about, having 4 or 5 different best mates. You talk about different things with each one of them, and then also having colleagues like yourself who are in the same sort of field or go through the same shit, to talk about it.
Yeah.
And probably there's a lot of people out there who are probably struggling in business or think, what the fuck have I done here? What have I started?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought this was going to be great on Instagram and going around and having dinners. And the reality is, as you just explained, it's far from that. It's enjoyable if you love what you do, but there's so much stuff that I remember there's points when I was growing at different stages that I actually hated what I was doing, as in physically waking up and hating my life.
Yeah, I've definitely gone through those. I mean, more, in sort of at that time I was talking about. Before then, the stress was sometimes, when things were going wrong, or there was I don't know, you have a couple of guys off ill one week, and then you're getting bombarded by,
And what do you do to go and sort that out? Go out with your mates on a bender.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I spent most of my youth or 20s doing that. Luckily, I've got a solid group of mates who really helped me through the tough times, and that might be going on a bender for a weekend, which I definitely exploited too much. But it's how I dealt with things, I guess. Then,
I mean.
But yeah, I completely agree with that. Some days you wake up and the world's on your shoulders when you've got business.
But what's also quite interesting is actually that feeling is horrible, to say the least. But eventually, you somehow you're like, shit. Okay, no one's getting me out of this. I'm on my own, and you have this weird reset, and then you just kind of find all this energy to basically be like, oh, okay, I'm going to power through all of this, and you end up getting to a position where you're like, power through all of the problems, stay late, go training, gym, running, doing all of the right things to get you going again, I guess. To reset your mind, reset your energy to what you mentally and physically require to get you out of that situation.
I guess, the tough times come, and sometimes it can just be one day, but you're still there at the end of the day, and then you realise, well, maybe I shouldn't have worried or shit myself too much. You get through things, don't you? You work things out. But I guess sometimes when there's like multiple things happening, it's when it can you really struggle with your mental health and feeling up for getting it done. But yeah, you're so true with that, and it goes in waves, doesn't it? Sometimes you can be really focused. I mean, I've definitely struggled. I'm a bit all or nothing, I've definitely struggled. Sometimes when I'm on it, I'll do, every hour under the sun, and I'll basically burn myself out. So I'm kind of like, this year I've been pretty good at, or trying to do things more in a balanced way.
Yeah.
But it's tough because it feels like I'm having to hold myself back because I really want to do all this stuff, get this done, wake up at 5 in the morning.
This. Like, I'm doing this coaching at the moment, and we talked about this, like, it's finding that balance, because I'm all or nothing, and like you said, when you are, if it does feel like you are holding yourself back, it's like literally as much strength as you got in your arms, shoulders, and body, you're like physically having to hold the projection of yourself that you want to achieve, like, and be like, no, like, to be able to actually be more successful, because when we're at it, we're just like, let's go. So like, but realizing actually I need to have a more balanced life. So holding it back. But I guess what I'm learning to do now is accepting that rather than having these amazing roller coasters, some thriller rides 10, but just going to a more suitable 7, maybe 8. and learning to try and enjoy it a bit more, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly the last couple of months I've been, waking up early. I'm up at 6, doing a bit of stretching, a bit of yoga, which is new for me.
Nice.
And then I'll have my breakfast, have a coffee, and read my book for 10-15 minutes.
Cool.
And then have a shower, go into work, and I feel a lot happier.
Cold showers?
Not cold showers, no.
No.
I was doing cold baths after my long runs, actually, but.
I haven't managed cold bath yet. I'm doing cold showers every morning and every evening. Yeah. What's cold bath like? That's or is it alright because you've just done a raw run?
When I was doing my long runs on the weekend training for the marathon, I would do like an ice bath.
And it's alright getting in. It's
15,
not like
getting in's horrible.
Oh, really?
Once you're in, it's actually fine, and I much prefer it than a warm bath because you end up sweating in a warm bath after you just run.
Mate, I love a hot bath.
So I'd normally have a cold bath, warm shower, and then the next day you might have a warm bath, help the muscles.
Might have to try a cold bath. It's the next level for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough getting in, but once you're in, actually, it's not so bad. Yeah. I mean, I'm not doing them at the moment. Now I've done the marathon, there, it's out the window.
Yeah.
But I was doing it just for help recovery, really.
Okay. So now you're in the business. You've kind of taken us back to where we were. You went through that second traumatic experience, and your dad's kind of helped you back on the road. And
so he just, first thing he came into is I was like, look, these guys aren't paying me. I've got all this stuff over here to deal with running the company. I just need someone to help and, make me think clearly. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
I don't want to go down there and take a baseball bat down there or whatever, because that's what you think in your head,
Yeah.
You're so angry. You need like a good way of dealing with these things. So obviously we actually arranged a meeting with them. They said they'd pay me back. We got them to sign something, got a picture of it. And they did start paying me back, but that stopped quite quickly. They basically had no money. They were actually crooks. They were taking money from the bank off a new build, saying that they'd done a certain amount and they hadn't. And, I didn't know any of this when I started working with them, but that was how I learned to vet. You need to vet the companies you work for.
Yeah.
Which you can do online.
Have you vetted me?
I think I've known you long enough.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I could do a little search on you.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to know what's...
Which obviously in my business how it is now is not as important. But certainly if I was going back to doing that sort of work for builders, I would be, investigating them. And, they're going to look at you. You've got to do business with someone, so it's important that these things are there. But anyway, yeah, they didn't pay me. I actually took them to court. I put them under because they couldn't pay. And actually they paid me back a bit, but by the time I paid the fees on everything else, it was back to square one. And then that took nearly a year. I was still struggling really with the loss of my brother. And then, the hardest bit of that was trying to find motivation to turn up to work. With the stress of, I always paid my guys on time. I always made sure that happened before anything, because I'd been in that position before as an employee, not being paid or being paid late, and I hated that. So I never wanted for me to do that to anyone. So I made sure I kept that. I made sure that they always got paid. But that's a really stressful thing at the end of every month when you've got a huge deficit from a company that aren't paying you, and having to find the money to pay everyone. So that sort of stress was ongoing. And then a month after I took that company to court and they went under, another company went under, pulled me and stuff and said, "Look, Luke, we've gone under, we owe you this much." And I was just, couldn't believe it. Second company within a year that had happened. Sure. So at that point I was actually before that, I probably should mention about a year before that, I started another company doing property maintenance, or had the vision of doing it. This is the
company you're doing now?
This is the company I'm focusing on now. So I wanted to do something that was just run slightly differently, and something that could involve more trades. So a year before this, I'd start up Curve Property Services, and then I started doing the call-out stuff for plumbing and heating through this company with a vision later to grow it. So when the second company went under, that's at the point then I thought, I can't work for these guys or builders anymore. I just had enough. Yeah.
You're basically feeding into the narrative of what everyone thinks of builders anyway.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, some of it was my fault. I learned a lot. There's things I could have done to prevent myself being in that situation. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just unlucky, I still would have had these companies go under on me, but the debts that they owed me could have been a lot smaller. Yeah. So, in that year, actually, I learned a lot about how the larger companies do it on the commercial sites. The construction industry do have formulas of how you should invoice people and the ways you should do it. But no one really follows that on a smaller. You can't really do that. The evaluation.
Well, I was really lucky that unintentionally and just intuitively, that the same thing happened to you with one of the companies that I had unintentionally just sent emails, which is basically the formula that they say. There's there was because you got to send it, then say, "Oh, you haven't sent it." If you got any minuses, to minus off it. And when I'd actually taken them to the court, like I just had luckily somehow managed to hit those. There's like 6 requirements for you to be able to ironclad your contract to be able to receive the money no matter what.
Yeah, at that point I'd been researching it and I started to have things in place to do that. But at that point it was too late for that company. It was just sort of like one blow after the other. I was still grieving, and it would just became really hard work. So then I spent the next few months obviously thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this? Made a plan to try and do that. And then that's when coronavirus hit. And actually,
if you're not down and out,
I mean,
the knockout blow.
Actually, that gave me a really overdue break and helped me reevaluate what I needed to do. And that's when I really started putting a lot more effort and work into the property services company. And I had time to do it because, I think Lukeland was out doing call outs for people that had no hot water heating, because we were allowed to do that in emergency situation, but everyone else wasn't working. So I just suddenly, all this pressure just dropped off me. I didn't have people calling me from 8 a.m. every day. Or even in the evenings, getting messages constantly. All that went away. And obviously it was obviously a horrible, bit of a frightening time, but at the same time, I was then actually able to have a little bit of a break and then
reevaluate.
Yeah, I actually just felt so refreshed in my mind after that first month, and I started really working on the property maintenance stuff, because I had all these ideas written down on where I wanted to go, but nothing was really moving forward because I was just in the middle of trying to run, the plumbing and heating company for the builders. So after that, I started only working for the building companies that I liked and that were doing good work for. So that company became smaller, and I really focused on the property services company. I got in a management software to run the company. I brought in Josie, who's been absolutely brilliant for us, and basically just completely changed how I ran the company compared to the other one. Changed everything basically. Because it was basically like you're starting again. It was a different type of company, but something I knew I could do. And having learned everything I'd learned over the last 5 years, and everything that had gone wrong, and basically I was putting things in place to avoid that. So the last sort of year and a half has basically been working on that, and then actually, so it was January 2021, I decided just to stop doing the builders work. So I had probably my best projects lined up for this year. Largest ones.
I remember you told me. I was
those plumbing and heating packages worth up to 100 grand on new builds. And that was sort of like, just going in that direction of working on these quite prestigious houses, installing ground source air source heat pumps. And I had to make the decision to not do that.
That takes hard. A lot of courage and to be able to do that, because you previous to that you'd worked your whole life to get that to that point, and then basically knew full well, for the first time actually saying no. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I had this, I made a little bit of a business plan for the property services company. I had a vision with that, and I thought, if I'm gonna put all my effort into this, then I can't be doing these other jobs, because they take up a lot of my time, a lot of management. And so the company Curve Property Services, which I'm now just solely working on, is, it's got a lot more foundation in the background. I'm, setting it up so that I can grow it, and I can grow it without me having to run around like a headless chicken. Have people in place, so processes in place. We're going to have 6 plumbers in 6 months, and then next get you back.
Absolutely, I might do, but
you have
processes are still there.
Everything you'd learned from the first business to.
I mean, some days we'll have like a roofer working for us, a painter, 2 plumbers, 3 gas engineers, and it's all working smoothly. Other days it'll be half that. We're sort of
flexible.
We're flexible at the moment. Obviously, we're working towards having more guys on full time and more trades on full time, but. Everything's in the background there, ready to go. So I feel like I'm doing things properly now. I'm understanding the profit and loss reports. I'm making sure weekly and monthly I know what's on them and where I'm at and what I need to do next month to hit the goals that I've set. So it's a completely different frame of mind. Obviously, I'm still wanting to do the same quality, but that's all now written down. I've written a business manual for the guys that work for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't got a manual yet. Jesus, I need to write one.
Yeah, I started it in that, after the break.
Photos and everything?
Yeah, some of it. So it's got kind of like, obviously, the normal business plan stuff with, what your vision is and all things like that. And then it's also got what I expect of you. Also, it's got all the processes in the office. So if Josie hasn't done something for a while, she needs to do it. She can go back to that and go, oh, I need to do that. Or if she does it wrong, I can go, look, it's in the manual. It's all there written, and I think that's really important. And obviously, the big thing is just trying to keep adding to it as things change and you add things, and that is tough.
Yeah.
To find time to do it.
Yeah.
But it just feels so much clearer in your head if you have that all written down.
Yeah, I understand.
So, and also if we get more office staff as we grow, obviously that manual will be there,
exactly.
and it's like a way to do something.
Yeah.
So everyone's doing it on writing from the same page. So, we're a bit smaller now than we were kind of 2 years ago, but I'm a lot less stressed. I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Smaller is better.
Yeah, well, we will be bigger.
Yeah.
But we'll be bigger and sustainable, and we'll be able to grow with the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Luke, obviously, as I thought, it's been an amazing spending this time with you, and thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's great to hear, and you've shown a lot of courage, which is what I started with. I said I didn't know whether you would sort of talk about some of the things that you've had to gone through, and you have, and I think it's really important that you have shared that for other people out there who probably have gone through similar things or going through that. You are a shining example of someone who has been through 2 traumas and been hit very hard in the face a couple of times when it comes to business, other businesses trying to take advantage or just how the business world is at the end of the day. And you've shown a lot of courage and to persevere. And I'm very proud to call you a friend, and good to see you continuing, through what you've been through and achieving what you're achieving. And I'm sure we'll get you on the podcast in the future. And yeah, I think there's some amazing wisdom for anyone who's been listening. And I just want to say thank you. And I really appreciate you giving your time and coming on here and sharing your journey.
No worries. Enjoyed it. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So quickly, just on one last final thing, three things that you would tell either a young person, either starting out to become a plumber or wants to start their own business, or 3 things you would have told yourself.
I would say enjoy the process. Don't look too far ahead.
Yep.
You've got to celebrate your wins. Otherwise, life is hard without that. And also, I would just, what's the third thing? Okay, there's always more you can learn, and go out of your comfort zone to learn things that you don't know. Don't just focus on the stuff you do know.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks a lot for that, and thanks everyone for tuning again to the journey. I hope that you are getting something out of this, and please share this with a young person, or I shouldn't say young person, old person, anyone who you think might be interested in hearing about becoming a plumber, or hearing Luke's journey through adversity and smashing life. Cheers, and see you next week, I guess.
You've been listening to the Journey Podcast with Russell Hughes, a show where we share the real journeys of people who are crushing it in their industry. We hope you gained some serious value that will help guide you on your journey of never-ending, constant improvement. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.